12 foods you must quietly stockpile in 2026 before the next panic. Not because every shelf will suddenly be empty tomorrow, but because when panic buying begins, millions of people usually target the same handful of familiar food categories, and an ordinary item can become hard to find within just a few hours. But here's the part worth paying attention to. One item on this list costs only a few dollars, but can upgrade dozens of meals. Another, if stored properly, can last 20 to 30 years. And the number one item contains about 1,600 calories per pound, at just a fraction of the cost of many specialized emergency foods. The point isn't to buy more than everyone else. It's knowing what to buy before the crowd realizes they need those same things too. 12. Canned tomatoes. A can of tomatoes may look completely ordinary on the shelf, but its real value lies in the number of meals it can help you create. You can use it as a base for pasta sauce, chili, soup, stew, cooked beans, or combine it with meat and vegetables. The good thing is that each type serves a different purpose. Diced tomatoes work well in chili, soup, and stew because they hold their texture. Crushed tomatoes are convenient for pasta sauce and dishes that need a smoother base. Whole peeled tomatoes are flexible because you can leave them whole, cut them, or crush them. And tomato sauce saves you a few extra preparation steps. One practical tip is to choose based on the meals your family normally cooks, instead of filling the pantry with only one type. Tomatoes can also add moisture, acidity, and a flavor base all at once. If a pot of beans, rice, or soup starts getting dry or bland, even a portion of tomatoes can change both the texture and the way the dish feels. The can size should also match how much you normally use. Smaller cans are easier to finish in one meal, while larger cans may work better when cooking for several people. For storage, keep the cans in a cool, dry place and away from prolonged high temperatures. Do not use cans that are swollen, leaking, severely rusted, or deeply dented along the seams. Follow the best buy date on the package and use one simple rule: first bought, first used, with newer items placed in the back. You can also write the month and year of purchase on the lid with a marker, so you can immediately tell which can should be used first. The value of canned tomatoes lies in their ability to connect familiar ingredients into many different meals. That's why one small can do far more than its appearance suggests. 11. Instant coffee. You can change lunch, eat dinner later, or make do with something else. But for someone who has had coffee every morning for years, missing that familiar cup is enough to make them realize right away that something about the day isn't normal. That's why instant coffee deserves a place in your backup food supply. Not because it's something that determines survival. Its value lies in a small routine that many people still want to hold on to when their daily schedule gets disrupted. And the biggest advantage of instant coffee is that it eliminates almost all the steps that usually come with making a cup of coffee. No coffee maker, no grinder, no paper filter. You take out exactly what you need, make one cup, and close the jar again. On days when electricity is unreliable, equipment is inconvenient, or you simply want to reduce the number of things you have to do in the morning, that simplicity becomes more valuable than usual. Instant coffee also makes it very easy to calculate how much backup supply you need. Let's say 2 people in the house each drink 1 cup every morning. That's about 14 servings per week. If you want to keep a 2-week backup supply, you only need to look at the number of servings listed on the package and calculate from that actual rate of use. No guessing. No need to buy an entire shelf full of coffee. Buy according to how fast you actually use it, not according to emotion. One very convenient approach is to divide your coffee into 2 layers. 1 jar you're using and 1 unopened backup jar. When the first jar is nearly empty, You open the backup jar and add a new one during your next shopping trip. That way, the backup supply isn't constantly being opened, closed, and exposed to moisture. And what about instant coffee not tasting as good as freshly brewed coffee? That may be true for many people. But the point here isn't to permanently replace the cup of coffee you love. It's a simple backup option when your normal brewing method becomes inconvenient. Storage isn't complicated either, but there is one detail worth noting. Don't keep the jar right next to the kettle, stove, or anywhere that is regularly exposed to steam. Instant coffee is very sensitive to moisture. Keep the package tightly sealed, use a dry spoon, and store it in a cool, dry place. Small, single-serve packets are also worth considering if you only use instant coffee occasionally, because every remaining packet stays sealed until you need it. If your household doesn't drink instant coffee, there's no reason to buy a lot of it just to be prepared. But if coffee is already a fixed part of your morning, keeping a modest extra supply is a very low-effort way to prepare. A well-prepared pantry doesn't just keep food on the shelves. Sometimes, it also preserves the small routines that help an unusual day still begin in a familiar way. 10. Bouillon cubes, bouillon powder. A box of bouillon cubes or bouillon powder can be so small that it almost disappears among the bags of rice, pasta, and canned goods in the pantry. But that small size is exactly what makes it useful. Just one cube or one spoonful of powder can create a flavor base for rice, beans, pasta, soup, canned vegetables, or chicken. A pot of rice cooked with broth tastes completely different from rice cooked with plain water. Beans gain more depth of flavor, while canned vegetables can quickly become a simple pot of soup. That's why bouillon is like a power multiplier for your pantry. One small box can support a large number of meals while taking up almost no meaningful space on the shelf. When buying it, choose a flavor that fits the meals your family normally cooks. Chicken and beef are two common choices, but what matters more is that you can actually use them regularly. One useful tip is to check the number of servings on the label instead of looking only at the size of the box. A fairly small package can sometimes make dozens of cups of broth, making the cost per use very low. Bouillon's biggest weakness is moisture. Bouillon powder should be kept tightly sealed and measured with a completely dry spoon. With cubes, individually wrapped portions help keep the rest from being exposed to as much air and moisture. Bouillon is not a complete food either. Many products contain quite a bit of sodium, so anyone who needs to limit salt should read the label carefully and choose an appropriate option. See this item for what it is. Not a meal, but a small tool that makes many other meals taste better and easier to use. Small on the shelf, but capable of affecting an entire pantry. Schninnein, powdered milk. Look around your kitchen and ask yourself one question. How many things you use every week are only convenient because the refrigerator is still running? Milk is a very clear example. Fresh milk needs to stay refrigerated and has to be replenished regularly. Powdered milk is different. It lets you keep your backup milk in dry form, then mix only the amount you need at the exact time you need it. That's a very practical advantage. If you only need 1 cup for oatmeal or cereal in the morning, you mix exactly 1 cup. If a recipe calls for half a cup of milk for pancakes, biscuits, mashed potatoes, or sauce, you prepare only that amount. No need to open an entire gallon. No need to make more than you'll use. And no need to set aside a large amount of refrigerator space for your backup supply. What's interesting is that many people look at powdered milk and think of only one use: mixing it into a glass of milk to drink. But in a pantry, it can be much more useful when treated as an ingredient. You can add it to oatmeal to make breakfast more filling, use it in bread and baked goods, make pancakes, Mix it into mashed potatoes. Create a base for certain sauces or creamy soups, or use it in recipes that only call for a small amount of milk. In other words, you don't necessarily need to ask, does it taste like a cold glass of fresh milk? The more practical question is, can it help me keep cooking familiar meals when I don't want to depend entirely on the milk in the refrigerator? And in that role, powdered milk is well worth considering. Its dry form also has a space advantage. One relatively compact container can make many cups of milk once mixed. So when buying it, don't look only at the number of ounces or pounds printed in large type on the front. Turn the label around and check how many cups or quarts of milk one container will make after mixing. That's the number that tells you how much actual usefulness you're buying. However, there is one thing that cannot be overlooked. Powdered milk still requires safe drinking water. It eliminates the need for refrigeration before mixing, but it does not eliminate the need for water. So if you keep powdered milk for an emergency, calculate it together with the amount of water your family has stored, instead of treating the two as completely separate. With powdered milk, the two biggest factors to control are heat and moisture. Keep the package sealed in a cool, dry place, away from areas that regularly heat up. After opening it, always use a clean, dry spoon to scoop out the powder. If you buy a large container, one practical approach is to keep a small amount for regular use and leave the rest sealed for as long as possible. Quality dates can vary significantly depending on the product and packaging, so follow the date on the package and the manufacturer's instructions instead of applying one general number to every type of powdered milk. And if the refrigerator stopped working for several days, what in your kitchen would make you notice that dependence first? The value of powdered milk is that you can keep your backup supply in a dry state, then turn it into exactly what you need. 1 cup for the morning, a portion for oatmeal, or a small amount for a recipe, right when you use it. 8. Cooking oil. There's one kind of shortage that can easily catch people by surprise. You open the bottle of oil to make dinner like you do every day, tilt it downward, and wait a few seconds, but only a few drops come out. That's when you realize that something you barely think about is involved in so many everyday cooking tasks. A little for sautéing, some for pan frying, a portion for baking, or simply to keep food from being too dry and give it a more enjoyable texture. That's the impact of cooking oil. You usually use only a small amount at a time, but when you run out, the way you prepare many meals may have to change. Oil also provides fat and concentrated energy, so even a small amount can increase the energy density of a serving without adding too much food volume. But oil isn't something you should buy in large quantities and then forget about for years. Over time, oil can go rancid, especially when exposed to too much heat, light, and air. So the more practical approach is to keep a moderate backup supply and continuously rotate it into use. If your family normally uses about 1 bottle per month, use that rate as your guide. Keeping 1 bottle in use and one or two additional unopened bottles usually makes more sense than buying too much at once. Bottle size is also worth considering. A large container may cost less per ounce, but if it takes several months to finish after opening, a moderately sized bottle is often easier to manage and rotate. When choosing oil, look at how you actually cook. If you regularly sauté or pan fry, choose an oil suited to those cooking methods. If you bake often, include the amount used in those recipes. You don't need to own too many types. What matters more is that the kind you regularly use is still available when you need it. Your unopened backup supply should be kept in a cool, dark place with a relatively stable temperature. Avoid storing it next to the stove, near a sunny window, or anywhere that regularly heats up. Follow the best buy date on each product and use the older bottle first. If the oil develops a rancid smell, a paint-like odor, or a clearly unusual taste, don't try to use it up just because there's still a lot left in the bottle. Cooking oil doesn't need to take up an entire corner of the pantry. It just needs to always be there in a sufficient amount, stored in the right place, and rotated regularly. Because one very ordinary bottle can affect how the entire kitchen operates. 7. Pure honey. You open a jar of honey that has been sitting in the pantry for quite a while and notice that it's no longer as clear and smooth as when you first bought it. It's starting to look cloudy. Small grains are appearing. The entire jar may even thicken and become grainy. Many people's first reaction is to think, it must have gone bad. But that's what makes this worth paying attention to. This is often just the natural crystallization of honey, and it does not automatically mean the honey has spoiled. The glucose in honey can gradually form crystals, changing its texture over time, while the product itself may still be perfectly usable if there are no signs of contamination. If you want to return the honey to a more liquid form, you can place the sealed jar in a bowl of warm water and let the heat gradually dissolve the crystals. There's no need to heat it directly or make it too hot. Besides storing well when kept properly, honey also has one very practical advantage. It can be used immediately. No cooking, no electricity, no need to prepare a separate dish. A spoonful of honey can quickly add carbohydrates and sweetness to oatmeal, bread, crackers, or drinks, or be combined with peanut butter. Even a small amount can make a simple serving easier to eat and add more energy without greatly increasing the volume of food. With honey, the most important thing to control isn't crystallization, it's water and contamination. Always use a clean, dry spoon and close the lid after use. If water or outside moisture gets inside, the environment in the jar can change and increase the risk of fermentation. If the honey develops a clearly sour smell, persistent unusual foam, mold, or signs of contamination, those are the signals worth paying attention to. And there is one safety warning that cannot be overlooked. Do not give honey to children under 12 months old because of the risk of infant botulism. Honey is a very good example of why it matters to correctly understand what is happening to the food you have stored. Knowing the difference between a natural change in appearance and a genuine sign of spoilage can help you avoid throwing away something that still has value. 6. Dry pasta. There's a fairly common mistake people make when stocking food. Buying items marketed as survival food, only to find that when they need them, the family isn't used to eating them, doesn't know how to prepare them, or simply doesn't like them. Dry pasta takes the exact opposite approach. It's something many families have eaten for years, already know how to cook, and most importantly, doesn't require learning a new way to use it just because it's sitting in the backup pantry. A box of pasta can be combined with tomato sauce, tuna, chicken, beans, broth, or simply a little oil and seasoning. Just by changing what you pair it with, you can create many different meals from the same staple food. That's a major advantage. When a food is already part of your normal eating habits, storing it becomes much more natural. You use it regularly, know which kind you like, know how much you need for each meal, and know for certain that the backup supply won't sit on the shelf forever simply because no one wants to eat it. This is also one of the clearest ways to understand the phrase, quietly stockpile. You don't need to buy 30 or 50 boxes of pasta at once. If your family already eats pasta regularly, you can start with one very simple rule. Buy 2 boxes, use 1, and keep 1. When you finish the box you're using, add another one during your next shopping trip. Over time, your backup supply gradually grows without significantly changing your budget or shopping habits. The older supply also gets used first naturally, because pasta is already part of your everyday menu. Pasta is also easy to portion. You can cook exactly what you need instead of creating too many leftovers. This is especially useful when you want to control the amount of water, fuel, or food used for each meal. For storage, the main things to watch are moisture and pantry insects. Unopened packaging can remain as it is if it's still intact. But once opened, the remainder should be tightly sealed or transferred to an airtight container to limit moisture absorption and pantry pests. Dry pasta also has one very clear limitation. It requires water and heat to cook, so pasta should be paired with your family's water plan and actual cooking capabilities. It isn't ready to eat in every situation, but when cooking is still possible, it is one of the most familiar and flexible meal staples. The most valuable thing about pasta is that you don't have to turn yourself into a prepper who lives differently from normal. You're simply buying a little extra of something your family already eats, using it as usual, and then replacing it. Sometimes, the smartest way to stockpile is to let preparedness hide inside your normal shopping trips. 5. Canned chicken. Look inside your pantry and ask one simple question. If you needed to add protein to a meal right now, do you have anything you could open and use without thawing, preparing, or cooking raw meat? That is the very clear role of canned chicken. The meat inside is already cooked and ready to use, so you can open the can, drain it if needed, and add it directly to a meal. This significantly reduces the number of preparation steps when you want to cook quickly or don't want to spend much time in the kitchen. Its relatively neutral flavor is also a major advantage. You can add chicken to rice, pasta, soup, or canned vegetables, or eat it with tortillas and crackers. If you want to make a sandwich, just mix it with a little seasoning or the right ingredients, and you have a simple filling. But the important point here isn't the number of dishes it can be paired with. What matters more is that the protein is ready the moment you open the package. No handling raw meat. No worrying about cutting boards, knives, or kitchen surfaces coming into contact with uncooked ingredients. No waiting for anything to thaw. Just open it and add it to the meal you already have. When shopping, you'll usually find two main forms: cans and flexible pouches. Cans have the advantage of being sturdy, easy to stack, and well-suited for pantry storage. Flexible pouches are lighter, take up less space, and can usually be torn open without a tool. If you choose cans without pull tabs, make sure there is always a manual can opener in an easy-to-find place in the kitchen. It's a small detail, but a can of food becomes far less useful if you can't open it when you need it. When it comes to portions, smaller cans or pouches may be more practical if you only need to add some protein to one meal. When refrigeration is limited, using the entire opened portion right away helps reduce the problem of storing leftovers. Another good habit is to inspect the packaging before use. For cans, avoid any that are swollen, leaking, severely rusted, or deeply dented along the seams. For flexible pouches, discard any packages that are punctured, torn, leaking, or unusually swollen. Canned chicken doesn't need to do too many things in the pantry. It just needs to do one very important thing well: provide a fully cooked source of protein that can be opened and added directly to a meal with very little effort. When starches, vegetables, and seasonings are already available, sometimes all that's missing is a convenient source of protein to complete the meal. And that is exactly the gap canned chicken fills so well. Canned tuna, tuna pouches. The power goes out. The stove isn't working. You don't want to boil any more water. And after a tiring day, taking out a pot to cook and then washing everything becomes another task you just want to skip. But you still need a source of protein you can eat right away. That's when tuna, especially tuna in pouches, shows its very clear advantage. You just tear open the package and use it. No heating required, no added water, no refrigeration before opening, no tools. There's a very important difference in the pantry. There are foods sitting ready on the shelf, and there are foods that are actually ready to eat. Those two things aren't always the same. Some dry foods store very well, but before they become a meal, they still need water, heat, or preparation time. With tuna pouches, the gap between opening the package and ready to eat is almost just a matter of seconds. That's the real advantage of this item. You can eat it straight from the package when you need the simplest option, or have it with crackers for a quick serving. When conditions are more convenient, tuna can also be added to rice, pasta, or salad, or mixed into a sandwich filling. But even without any of those things, the fish inside is still ready to eat. Pouches also have one very practical advantage. They're lightweight, flat, and easy to carry. A few pouches take up almost no space in the pantry. An emergency bag, or your luggage if you need to move. Many packages are also divided into small individual portions, so you can open exactly what you want to eat without having to deal with too many leftovers. Cans are still a sturdy storage option, but pouches have a clear advantage when you want a portion of food that's light, compact, and can be opened without a tool. When buying tuna for regular use, take a few seconds to read the label. Sodium levels can vary between products, and different types of tuna can also vary in mercury content. If tuna appears regularly on the menu, how often you eat it, and the type you use should fit your family's health guidelines. With tuna, the point to remember isn't how many recipes you can make with it. The point to remember is that it still works even when the cooking part of the meal doesn't. When the stove stops working, your source of protein doesn't necessarily have to stop with it. A small package sitting quietly on the shelf can take just a few seconds to become something you can eat right away. 3. Peanut butter. Sometimes the problem isn't a lack of food. The problem is that you're too tired to prepare it. You don't want to turn on the stove, boil water, or pull out more pots and pans just to make a small serving. Peanut butter eliminates almost all of those steps. Open the lid, grab a spoon, eat it right away. No cooking, no water, and no refrigeration before opening. Even a small amount provides energy, fat, and protein at the same time, making it very useful when you need something quick, but don't want to prepare a full meal. You can spread it on crackers, tortillas, or bread, add it to oatmeal, or pair it with honey. But even without anything to go with it, you can still eat it straight from the jar. That's only half the value of peanut butter. The other half is familiarity. A backup food may look great on paper, but if the whole family doesn't like eating it, its practical value drops significantly. Peanut butter has an advantage because it's already familiar to many families. Children may be used to peanut butter sandwiches, adults eat it with crackers or oatmeal, and a small spoonful can also become a quick snack between meals. When buying it as a backup, prioritize the kind your family actually eats and can naturally rotate through. There's no need to choose the largest jar if it takes you too long to finish after opening. And there is one important limitation. Peanut allergies can be very serious. If someone in the household has an allergy, this is not a suitable option, and the risk of cross-contact must also be avoided. Peanut butter is strong in two ways at once. There is almost no barrier to using it, and it is familiar enough that people will actually want to eat it. That's why one small jar can become one of the most practical items to keep in the pantry. 2. Dry beans. With dry beans, the most important question isn't, are beans good for stockpiling? It's, for the money and space I put into them, how many meals do I ultimately get? That's where dry beans become especially noteworthy. Compared with canned beans, dry beans usually provide more servings on the same budget, and take up less space before they're cooked. A bag that looks fairly compact on the shelf can produce a much larger amount of food after soaking and cooking. But there's one important detail. The real cost of dry beans isn't limited to the price on the label. You also have to account for water, fuel, and preparation time. Many types of beans need to be soaked first, then cooked until tender. If electricity, water, or fuel is limited, the price advantage of dry beans may no longer be the most important factor at that moment. That's when canned beans offer their own advantage. They're already cooked and can be opened and used almost immediately. So what you get in exchange for the higher cost is convenience and less dependence on cooking. So you don't necessarily have to choose one and eliminate the other. A balanced approach is to keep dry beans as your foundational reserve because they're efficient in cost and space, while also keeping some canned beans for times when you need something quickly. When buying dry beans, don't just compare the price per pound. Also look at the number of servings after cooking. That's the calculation that matters. The price on the label is only part of the equation. Water, fuel, and time are costs too. Dry beans rank at number 2 because they force us to look at the pantry as an equation. How many actual meals does every dollar, every inch of space, and every hour of preparation ultimately produce? 1. White rice. If you had to choose one item worthy of the number 1 spot because of its ability to support the entire pantry system, white rice would be very hard to overlook. The reason doesn't come down to one single quality. Rice isn't the highest protein food. It isn't the most convenient food to eat right away. And it isn't the food highest in fat. But it has one very special advantage. The more other ingredients you have in the pantry, the more useful rice becomes. Beans can be served with rice. Canned chicken can become a main meal when you add rice. Tuna, canned tomatoes, canned vegetables, cooking oil, broth, or seasonings can all take rice in a different direction. That's why rice can be seen as a foundational food. It doesn't need to replace other foods. It just needs to create a base simple enough for other ingredients to serve their purpose. Another point worth noting is that white rice and brown rice do not have the same storage characteristics. Brown rice still contains the bran and germ, where more natural oils are found. Those fats make brown rice more likely to go rancid during long-term storage. White rice has had most of those outer layers removed, so it is more stable when kept dry, sealed, and protected from insects. But storage life is only part of the story. Rice still requires clean water, heat, and fuel to cook. That means it cannot replace ready-to-eat items such as peanut butter, honey, or tuna pouches. And that's exactly what makes the entire list fit together as a system. Some items provide protein, some add fat, some create flavor. Some can be used immediately when cooking isn't possible. Some reduce dependence on the refrigerator, and rice creates a meal base that can take in many of those items. If your family already eats rice, the most reasonable approach is to gradually increase your backup supply based on actual consumption, instead of waiting until demand outside the stores suddenly rises and then buying it all at once. The goal is to maintain enough of a supply that when a wave of panic buying happens, you don't have to start from zero. And that's why white rice ranks at number 1. The smartest food in a stockpile isn't always the one that can do the most on its own. Sometimes, it's the one that makes nearly everything else you've prepared more useful. Panic buying and preparedness may look the same in a shopping cart full of food, but they're completely different in when and why you buy. Panic buying means buying a lot in a short period because you're afraid there will be no options left. Quiet preparedness means buying a little at a time, choosing what you actually use, and maintaining a backup supply while everything is still normal. An effective food reserve doesn't need one item that solves everything. It needs different roles that support one another. So open your pantry, find the 2-3 most obvious gaps, and gradually fill them during your next shopping trips. The goal isn't to have the largest food stockpile in the neighborhood. The goal is not to become the person who needs everything on the exact day everyone else needs it too.